Hello and welcome to Epiphytic Cacti. Today we're going to take a look at the species Pfeiffera Monacantha, subspecies Kimnachii. We're more accustomed to seeing the more standard species Pfeiffera Monacantha, subspecies Monacantha, and usually we don't say the subspecies when the subspecies is the same as the standard name, but a lot of times I do that for clarity in these videos, or even when I post online, because I think that in a lot of cases, people don't call out the subspecies when it is a subspecies, so just for clarity, I just try to do that. This is listed as least concern on the IUNC.org Red List site. The standard form grows in Argentina and Bolivia, and the subspecies Kimnachii grows in Bolivia. And at one time, the subspecies Kimnachii went under the name Rhipsalis Monacantha variety Espinosa. So in case you were trying to find it, you might actually find it underneath that name. On this side, I have the subspecies Kimnachii, and on this side I have the standard form, so we can look at some of the differences here. One of the things about the subspecies Kimnachii is that I had some difficulty, I think, in getting this to grow. I think I got cuttings a couple of years ago. I don't know if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, but one of the things that I found was that it just really wasn't growing. Or growing very slowly. So what's interesting is that there is one of the cuttings here has produced all of this growth, and the other cuttings that were in there did next to nothing. It can kind of happen sometimes depending on like the maturity of cuttings for how long it will take for your plant to really get established and start growing. The other cuttings are starting to grow now. And another thing is that I kept this one in some pretty shady conditions based off of my knowledge of the standard form. If you put this plant in too much light, it will react terribly, which is very interesting because it has aggressive spines, which the form Kimnachii does not. It is spineless. You would think that because of it having those spines, it would appreciate more sunlight. However, that is not the case. Epiphytic cacti generally lost the majority of their spines as an adaptation to being epiphytic. What will happen to it is if you put it in too much sun, its branches will start corking aggressively. By that, I mean that they will actually get a hard outer shell. It's kind of a tan. And it will do it so aggressively that it is harmful to the plant. It inhibits the plant's ability to grow or even to really photosynthesize. So you do not want to put this guy in highlight, even though you may think it looks like a highlight plant, which was a mistake that I made because I did have another one where I put it in highlight and it corked itself to death. And interestingly enough, it will also happen to seedlings. So I was very cautious with this one. I didn't want to put it in too much light, so I kept it in fairly shady conditions to see how it did. And I think it might be that this one wants a little bit more light than this one. And it's interesting because you can see the sheer amount of growth that is coming off this plant. Now, this plant is a little more established. I've had it since 2018. And you can see all of the growth, all this new growth that's coming off of this one. So that one seems to be a very good grower. And comically enough, it has the Shire bloomer. So whereas this one is like, I'm going to do some bloomy stuff, this one has always been the Shire bloomer with only like 1 or 2 blooms here or there. Although it's trying to do something this year, and we'll take a closer look at that. But this plant here will become very long and it will cascade. It reminds me of some of the plants in a different genus, the Lemon Bensonia. And I have no idea if I said that right because it's a doozy. But the way that it grows with these beautiful long cascading branches and the scalloped edges, the blooms are very different between these two plants. And we'll take a closer look at this. However, the fruit is identical, which is interesting. So why don't we zoom in and take a close look at these flowers. I am an absolute sucker for orange flowers. So Pfeiffera is really a genus that was kind of made for me. You can see these beautiful little orange flowers. They have pointed petals. They have kind of it's like an orange midstripe, but then on the outer part of the petals, it's lighter. It's almost kind of white or peach or something. It's a little bit different. It's very, very, very sunny out here, perhaps too sunny. But there you can kind of see the orange midstripe, and then how the outer part of the petal here is more of like a white or peach or something. You can see its cute little stigma, and then you can see its very small little spray of stamen there. And I think I went way up in on this, and the stamen are white or kind of yellowish. If we look at the base of the flower, you will note that it is not really round, it is kind of angular. It really kind of has this angle, and the fruit will match that. And I'll put the fruit in from the standard form. The fruit, like I said, is almost identical. Once it's ripe, it's pink, and I was very surprised by that because I've always seen the fruit being orange. And so I do want to kind of take a moment here and have a look at the standard form's bud. So you can see the base of the flower looks really very much the same, but the bud is a very shiny orange, which is very different, and it is rounded. And I will show a picture of what the bloom looks like when it's opened, because they do look a little bit different. And there was a part of me that when I saw this, I was like, what if it was just like a natural hybrid or something, you know? And it made it end up being spineless, like, you know, perhaps the standard form had a natural hybrid with Pfeiffera suntipatensis, which also grows in Bolivia. I don't know if they grow in the exact same area though, but it would be kind of interesting because the flowers on this were a little reminiscent of that to me. We can take a look at some of the new growth. Here we can see what I mean about kind of the lack of growth that was happening here, and the new growth that's kind of finally starting to emerge. Here I can see a new branch coming here, and then there's 3 little new branches coming there, and there's one branch that's kind of hiding out underneath here. And those have really just started since it's been outside underneath the pergola. It does get quite a bit of shade, but it's still brighter than where it was in the Rhipsalis closet. So this year when it's moved indoors, it will definitely get a little bit of a brighter area, and we'll see how the growing goes. It is an absolutely beautiful, wonderful, gorgeous, gorgeous plant. I love the way it grows, those branches, the long, elegant, those absolutely gorgeous little orange flowers. It seems like it is a very floriferous plant. Granted, mine is only blooming in this one really awkward section. I hope that you've enjoyed looking at Pfeiffera monacantha subspecies Kimnachii with me. Thank you for watching, and a happy cacti growing.